Uh, uh, Look, see, I remember when I met you as a sophomore. Started out as friends, but I knew that we would want more. Hit your favorite restaurant with your favorite.
You know how they say don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and then Jet came along with a set of tiny throwing knives and started dropping noobs? Someone else came and said the hell with guns and knives, I'm bringing a fucking bow to this fight. And I'ma hit you where you least expect it. That someone is called Sova, ladies and gentlemen, whom I'm making this guide video about. An agent with a very high skill ceiling, someone who can cause an unrealistic amounts of discomfort for enemies and gather intelligence in the most effective way. As with Cypher, Sova is great at scouting enemies out, but in addition Sova has the tools to punish those he finds, either with one of his bouncing what the hell that came out of nowhere shock bolts, or with his infamous lethal map piercing Hunter's Fury, his ultimate skill. Especially with players discovering new insane lineups for recon bolts that cross the entire map to land at amazing positions for revealing the entire enemy team. As I won't be getting into those in details, you'll find a link to Akshon esports channel for useful recon bolt lineups. Before we start, please take a second of your time to like this video and maybe subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let us jump straight into his skills, starting as usual with the signature ability, Recon Bolt. Equip a bow with a recon bolt and then fire to send the bolt forward, activating upon collision, revealing the location of the nearby enemies in the vicinity caught in one of the 3 pulses produced by the bolt. You can hold fire to extend the range of the projectile, or alternate fire to add up 2 bonuses to this arrow. There are 4 power levels to your recon bolt shot, 3 for each portion of the power gauge, and then a 4th for maxing out the gauge. This makes it easier to recreate shots without having to time your shot absolutely perfectly. It means your recon bolt can reach any area you want without the need to peek. Always try to be close to where the recon bolt is hitting so you can peek fast and get the easy frag. Also, don't forget that most walls in Valorant are penetratable, so don't forget to wall bank safely when you can. Even if your recon bolt is destroyed before it can track an enemy, that can still give you valuable knowledge that there is at least one enemy in the vicinity, which means it is still a useful tactic to forget about trying to make your bolt as unnoticeable as possible and instead just try to land it as close as possible to the enemy so they have no choice but to shoot it and reveal themselves. But at the same time, don't make it too easy for the enemy to destroy it, as it can be destroyed in the air before even landing. After all, this is an executive decision only you can make based on the circumstances, so before firing, study the situation of the round and decide accordingly. Note that the recon bolt requires line of sight to pick up an enemy, but it also has a maximum range, and this range works vertically as well as horizontally. So if you land the recon bolt too high up, it may not reach enemies on the ground below it, so be smart and don't waste it. Recon bolts can attach themselves to players. If you manage to stick a bolt to an enemy, they won't be able to destroy it themselves, and the tracking pulses will follow them around wherever they go. Here is a risky but a strong tactic to use the recon bolt completely as a distraction. Fire it close by, and then immediately peek out of cover and shoot the enemy who's distracted trying to destroy your bolt. Now moving on to Sova's ultimate, Hunter's Fury. Equip a bow with 3 long-range wall-piercing energy blasts. Fire to release a blast in a line in front of Sova, dealing damage and revealing the location of enemies caught in the line. This ability can be reused up to 2 more times while the ability timer is active. 2 hits with Hunter's Fury will guarantee a kill, and the damage it inflicts has no drop off, so it will always hit as hard. As the range of Hunter's Fury is great, it's still not limitless, so you can use the minimap blind marker to determine exactly where you can reach and hit with Hunter's Fury. As I mentioned just now, Sova's ultimate has a timer. After the time gauge has depleted by about a third, you will no longer have time to fire all 3 arrows, so don't delay too long before firing your first shot. And unlike most other abilities in Valorant, Hunter's Fury cannot be cancelled by switching to a weapon. If you want to cancel early, you must instead hit the ability button again. Note that your turning speed doesn't change while aiming. Nonetheless, the moment you start to charge up a shot, your turning speed falls off. However, the moment you let your arrow loose, your turning speed is reverted to normal. So you can make a surprisingly quick movements with this ultimate as long as you're not charging an arrow. Most common folk will fire off all 3 arrows of Hunter's Fury as quickly as they can click, but of course, this is very predictable, giving your opponents the best possible chance to avoid your subsequent shots. You would normally panic upon activating out of fear of wasting a shot, but the more you use the ability, the better your understanding and awareness of how much time you have. You have enough time to throw in a second delay between 2 of the 3 shots, so use it. A useful way to use your ultimate is to wait for an enemy to be marked by the recon bolt and then hit him straight with your ultimate. Moving on to the purchasables, starting with shock bolt. Purchase and equip a bow with a shock bolt. Fire to send the explosive bolt forward, detonating upon collision and damaging players nearby. Hold fire to extend the range of the projectile. Alternate fire to add up 2 bonuses to this arrow. Ignoring line of sight enough to half a second of landing, shock bolt pulses once, dealing damage in its vicinity. Shock bolt has exactly the same firing mechanics behind it as the recon bolt, so anywhere you can reach with the recon bolt, you can reach with the shock bolt, which is the point: punish enemies you reveal. You can inflict a maximum of 90 damage with shock bolt. However, there is a significant damage drop off within its spherical reach, so unless you get lucky, an enemy is likely to sustain less damage. As there is no way of knowing if you've hit someone with your bolt, unless of course you kill them, the shock bolt can be used as a scouting tool. However, it can be used to flush an enemy out of cover. These arrows take a surprisingly long time to land if you shoot them straight upwards at max power. An interesting tactic for delaying a spike defusal is to plant and then fire a shock bolt directly upwards at max power with 2 bonuses. This will prevent anyone from defusing the spike for a good 20 seconds. Stagger both shock bolts to increase the duration of this deterrent. Moving on, the last ability is Owl Drone. Equip the drone and fire to deploy, and take control of the movement of the drone. While in control, fire to shoot a marking dart. This dart will reveal the location of any player struck by it. Your drone lasts a total of 10 seconds, and the drone dart has a cooldown of 5 seconds, so you can only fire a maximum of 2 darts with a single drone use. It's pretty difficult to aim with your drone dart, but even if you don't stick anyone with the tracker, it's still a very useful scouting tool that you should use whenever you feel unsafe rounding a corner. Don't forget that the dart is a useful combo with your ultimate since you have wall hacks for 3 seconds. You can hit your ultimate knowing exactly where the enemy is. Unlike recon bolts, the drone takes several shots to destroy, making it a useful distraction. In order to provide the best possible distraction with your drone, peek a corner with it half a second before your teammate peeks around the same corner. Anyone focused on destroying the drone should be easily dealt with by the teammate. Your drone may be able to fly, but it cannot travel beyond the character height limit, which means you can't fly it over rooftops. Even though SOVA doesn't have the utility to compete with Cypher in gathering intelligence, as Cypher focuses entirely on gaining information, SOVA comes equipped with the toolkit to eliminate those scouted by his arrows, which Cypher lacks. Make your pick and bring the best out of it. This will be all. I hope this guide was of help. Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell. Cheers!